Okay, so let's start our discussion. This is for CIA part 1 and there are several lectures. The lecture 1 is mandatory guidance. What is the meaning of mandatory? Mandatory is that is compulsory, that we don't have any choice about. So what are these guidance? First of all, we'll study what is applicable standards, code of ethics, conduct for professionals, internal audit ethics, introduction and principles, internal audit ethics, integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, competency, and in the last we'll discuss what is a charter. Let me just give you some idea, which is we will take it from this diagram. This is called IPPF Framework, International Professional Practices Framework. Think about you are in US and you are thinking about internal controls. Now, the controls should be perceived in a way that you are outside US, like in Canada, in UK, in UAE. So they should be equally applicable, well processed, well managed, well thought. So if you will be very specific in your working, it will become very rule based. So, but if you think in a broader picture that is the model, so let's first put the rest of the world into this model. And when it comes to complication, day-to-day changes, different phenomena, then we can have further actions on this. That's why this is an international professional practice framework. It's applicable all over the world. And how it goes is, it starts with the definition of internal auditing. Then it goes to the code of ethics. And then it's follow the standards. All these are mandatory. We don't have any choice that will we adapt it or not. According to the SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley Act 2002, all listed companies must have an internal audit and internal control department. So you have no choice. You have to understand these internal controls, internal audits, and into a symmetrical way, into a logical way that you can apply to one company to another company, one place, one state to another state, and one country to another country. Because being an American companies, we are working all over the world. So we have to have some standard things, which is this one. Every company should have a definition of internal auditing. There should be a definition. And this definition should be always in our mind as students because a lot of questions are derived from this definition. Like it's an objective assurance, it adds value into day-to-day operations. This is what we are going to discuss. Code of ethics is for ethical behavior of the manpower. Now, suppose if you live in a country where you are all same skin, same religion, same belief, same culture, then might be there's no much need to teach ethics. Because generally one community ethics are the same. But when it comes to you are working where Germans, British, Canadians, Lebanese, Jordanians, and a lot of nationalities, Singaporeans working under one roof. They are different in colors, different in thoughts, different in cultures, different in values. So we can't let them decide that what is good and what is bad. We should give them a definition of good or a definition of bad. Some families, if you come after 9 o'clock to your home, they feel it very bad. They start hitting you, even if you are a son or a daughter. And they give you a warning, if you do next time, it will not be good for them. But some culture, you can come 3 o'clock, if your parents say something, you call the police, tell them, look, they are disturbing my life. So it's another culture. But we cannot let people decide because this is going to harm the organizational culture. So we should tell when someone comes in your office, what will be the way to behave, what words you will use, what policies we should have, what is the definition of a good employee, what is the definition of a bad employee, define what is discipline for you, right? So we will have a code of ethics which will tell us how to behave ethical in the world. Then we will move ourselves to the standards. How standards move is we have some standard which is we are going to discuss attribute standards. Attribute means which is more related to the characteristics of your personality. Your personality has characteristics like you are beautiful, you are young, you are energetic, same like attributes means you think good, you are fair, you are you're honest, you have so many things inside. So if you see, this is very simple to understand as attribute standard, but if you read without thinking, of course it will become very difficult, all these other standards, how to memorize them. But this is in your personality. Everyone, when you are small, all parents, they teach you that you should be fair, you should be honest, you should be a hard worker, you should not tell your secrets to outside, these kind of things is obviously in our childhood, since childhood. Then we have performance standards. Performance is when an auditor is going to go on a client side. So what are the performance requirements, criterions that we have to follow? Based on these attributes and performance standards, our implementation standard will come. You will see a couple of multiple choice questions checking your knowledge that which of the standard is dependent on these two standards. Because your performance is totally dependent on the way you think and the way the implementation is dependent on the way you think and the way you perform. If you think good, if you are a good performer, then the implementation will be effective. That's why the implementation standards are dependent on the attribute and performance standards. This is mandatory guidance, this is must, you have no choice. You must have a definition of internal auditing defined in your charter, and then you should have a code of ethics which will guide you the ethical behavior of the employees. And then we should have standards like as the auditor what I should have as my personality, and as when I come to the work, so what kind of performance standards I should have, and based on these two, how I'm going to implement the audit plans, procedures. This is all dependent on this one. This is mandatory guidance. Now we do have some strongly recommended guidances, which is of course not mandatory, but it's recommended that you should do in this way. There are three levels. One is position paper, one is practice advisories, and one is practice guides. So these are level 1, level 2 and level 3. One is, suppose I am in love, so level 1 is don't hurt yourself. Level 2 is if I hurt, what will be the scenarios? Level 3 is if this happens, so do this. If this happens, so do this. These are three levels. If you are an auditor, so someone is not following an accounting entry, this is position paper telling you, okay, take an action. Now, what action? So for that we have practice advisory, more deeper. Okay, if you do this way, but he didn't do this way, so what will be the consequences of that? That will be in the practice guide. So it's very simple, and one is a summary, one is the detail, one is full detail of the situations. Obviously we cannot write everything. If I want to write my life, I cannot. You cannot write 24 hours. Because it will take like max 1 month, 2 months to think, to write, and in between 24 hours, a lot of 24 hours you will left. Same way, in an organization, we cannot define all the procedures. How the employees will sit, how they will stand. We have to see what is value added, what is non-value added. So always, practical complications are with us. But still, this is called IPPF, International Professional Practice Framework, given by Institute of Internal Audit, that is in Florida, America. They said there are two parts. One is mandatory guidance, which is divided into three parts. One is the definition of internal audit, code of ethics, and then they told that there are two standards attribute. And they have numbers like 1000, 1001, 1002. These are the defined standards. Performance standard based, implementation based on these two. Then we are strongly recommended guidance if this happen. If it is broader in nature, take your position paper. If it is you require more detailed guidelines, go for practice, and otherwise go for the guides.
And just for the previous slide, you said each and every company has to have a definition of internal audit. So it depends on the company. So according to that, they frame all the
like the number of employees you have, the number of nature of business you have, you should have your own definition. But covering the core principles. Core principle mean it should be an objective assurance, it should add value into day-to-day operation. This is what I am going to discuss.